Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. It's been 10 days since I got the R6 Mark II. I ordered it straight away when it was released. And it's packed with features, it's incredible. It's good for photo and video. And in this video I'm going to share my first impressions of using it for the last 10 days. First, I want to point out I bought this camera with my own money. I wasn't paid to do this video. These are my impressions and my sincere thoughts about the R6 Mark II. Let's start with the body itself. The body is basically the same as the R6. When you grab it and hold it in hand, you will probably not see any differences, notice any differences. Now, there are a few differences. First difference is the new placement of the on-off switch, which is now on the right side, and where the old on-off switch, I mean the one on the R6 and on the R5 is, now you have a photo video switch. You can switch from photo mode to video mode with one switch. It also has a new smart hot shoe, which the R10, R7 and R3 have, which is a really nice feature. It will allow you to use microphones without any cables or batteries, or even audio interface solutions that will allow you to use XLR microphones right with the R6. It also has a new joystick, which is incredible, just kidding. It's basically the same. They say it's a new type of joystick. I was really pleased with the one on the R6, but if this is better, that's great. Now, I have some gripes regarding the decisions of placing the new on-off switch on the right side. If you're using two cameras to work, which I do really often use, I prefer that all the layouts are the same. Like the R6 and R5 were basically the same except the mode dial. And now, since I got this camera, I so many times, instead of turning it off, I just switch from video to photo or from photo to video. That's a big problem, especially if I'm gonna shoot with two cameras. I wish they left it the way it was and just added the photo video switch on the right side. I would also prefer to have the photo video switch on the right side so I can switch from photo to video with one hand. I do often shoot photo and video at the same time, I would say. On the R5, I dedicated that function of switching to the MFN button that's right next to the shutter. So on the R5, I just press the button and it switches from photo to video. And with this camera, that's not possible. I know a lot of wedding shooters are doing photo and video together, and a lot of photojournalists are taking video clips and taking photos at the same time. So for them, that will be a much better solution. Still, I'm happy that they introduced this new switch, because now in video mode you can use all the functions of the mode dial. So C1, C2, C3 for the aperture priority and shutter priority, which a lot of people were missing on the R6. Also, with the new on-off switch, you have in between off and on, you have a lock function. I did turn off all the lock functions, and now when I turn on the camera, I just have to move it to the lock. I rarely use the locking function on the camera, so that's a workaround if you are annoyed with going from off, lock, on to use your camera. Now let's talk about the sensor and the image quality. Now this camera has a new sensor from Canon that's 24.2 megapixel sensor. CMOS sensor, it's not BSI, it's not stacked, but it's still impressive in some ways. First of all, it has probably the fastest readout from all the full-frame CMOS sensors that are not BSI or stacked, which allows it to have basically the same rolling shutter as the R5, or even slightly better, I would say. And also it allows it to have better images when you're using electronic shutter, because there will be less bending and other artifacts. Now, regarding the image quality itself, I would say I didn't do any big tests, but from my use case from last 10 days, I would say it's on par with the R5 regarding the dynamic range, and on par to the R6 regarding noise, which is fine by me. I was really happy with those features from both the R5 and R6. And also I noticed one thing, that now the color science is basically the same as of the R5. With the R6 you did have a different color shift, I would say. For photographers, there is also a new feature that you can shoot 40 frames per second with the autofocus enabled, which I'm gonna for sure use. I'm a Red Bull photographer, so there are certain situations where, for example, athlete is doing one thing only once and you have to capture that thing perfectly. 40 frames will allow me that. So it's not a feature that will be good for everybody, but for sports shooters and for wildlife shooters, I think they will be happy. And also you are now able, finally, to change frame rates in electronic shutter mode. So you can change from 40 to 20 to 5, I think. And that's fine by me. I would like to have my own choice, but that's already great. And now finally sound is possible. You get this sound when you are using electronic shutters, so you know you're taking photos, which I was really missing on the R5 and R6. The 4 more megapixels are also welcome. I would be happiest with 30, I think that's the sweet spot, but 24 isn't okay. It depends what you do. I do a lot of cropping because of my client work where they need images in different layouts and different aspect ratios. And in that case, I have the R5 and I really like the 45 megapixels and what that offers. I also want to know if you're a photographer, will you use the 40 frames per second? And also write what type of photography do you do? I mean, I want to know what my viewers are interested in. And if you're a filmmaker also, like if you're a hybrid shooter, write me down what type of work do you do. So let's talk about the video feature. This camera is a beast in video. And that's the reason why I upgraded it. This camera has some major improvements compared to the R5 and R6. And I would say a lot of those improvements come from the new processor, the Digic X processor, but a new version compared to the R6 and R5, which is more capable and more efficient. One of the biggest improvements compared to the R5 and R6 is actually ability to shoot 4K up to 60, but it's upscaled from 6K. So you're getting really sharp and nice image in 4K up to 60, much better than the one in the R5 and also in the R6. This is really welcome thing because, as I said, I do a lot of client work where I need to adjust my content to different outputs. So I have to crop the videos from 16:9 to 9:16 or 1:1, and more details means that it will be less of a trouble to do that. Another big advantage of the R6 Mark II, and one of the reasons why I got it, was no record limit. Now, I do now and then long interviews, and for that I use Ninja 5 as a solution on the R5 and the R6. I have two Ninjas. I sold actually one. It's always annoying to record externally just because there is more chances that something could go wrong. And that's the reason why I prefer to record internally. And now I'm able to do it basically for 6 hours without any problems, because this camera also doesn't overheat. R6 did overheat, but with Ninja 5 you could avoid that, especially filming in 4K up to 30. With this camera now, you can shoot 6 hours without overheating, without any limitations except the card and the battery in 4K up to 30, and also around 40 minutes until overheats according to Canon in 4K 60. I did test the overheating, which was also one of the things that I didn't like on the R6, and I have to say, although it never overheated while I was working, it came close and that was stressful. So for me, paying a little bit more to remove that stress was a no-brainer. I did test the overheating, so I pushed the camera to overheat. In my apartment, the temperature was around 22 degrees Celsius, and I was holding the camera for an hour and 10 minutes in the hand with closed display, so basically to force it to overheat as soon as possible, and it needed like hour and 10 minutes to overheat. When it overheated, it just rebooted, it restarted, and you just press record, and I got 14 more minutes. Then it did it again, and I was able still to shoot in 4K 60, but I decided to test what will happen if I switch to 4K 25, because sorry, I was filming in 50, not 60, because I'm in Europe. and basically it started to cool down. Now you have an indicator, so it shows you how close you are to the overheating. I think with normal working scenarios, at least in my case, I will never overheat this camera. This camera offers C-Log 3 10-bit footage, so you get only 10-bit in C-Log 3. You cannot get it in standard modes, which I would like to change. I hope Canon will listen to all of us that are asking for that, because sometimes I prefer just the straight out of camera colors, but I would still like to have more range in post-production if I messed up something to try to correct it. And 10-bit would probably allow that. Also, I would like to see C-Log 2. I know I saw some podcast or something where a Canon engineer told that just the sensor would not produce enough data to utilize the full potential of C-Log 2. But still, if it provided slightly better image than the C-Log 3, it would be worth. So please, Canon, provide it. And also for the workflows where you're using Canon C70 and filming C-Log 2, it will be easier to combine two cameras. So for those reasons, I would be happy to see it. Regarding the quality of the C-Log file, I would say it's comparable to the R5, as I said before regarding the image quality. The dynamic range is on par with it, and the noise ratio is also on par with it. It's standard and close to the R5, which I actually like because it will be easier to combine two cameras together. As I also previously said, it doesn't have that tint that the R6 had, so it's much easier to combine those cameras. The camera only has IPB compression. I know a lot of people are not happy because of it. For me, that's not big of a problem because I use a Mac computer that has M1 chip and it handles those files pretty well. And I presume, considering that the camera has SD cards, it would be probably able to use only up to 4K 30. I do love the new features. There are two features that I couldn't test at all. The external RAW, considering that the Atomos still didn't provide the firmware update, so we are waiting for that. This camera can shoot externally, will be able to shoot externally 6K up to 60 in 10-bit RAW and 3.7K up to 60 in 12-bit RAW, which is incredible. 12-bit and 10-bit ProRes RAW. That's really useful for those people that like to push the image, and in some cases if you're doing some personal project that you want to color grade a lot and that stuff, that could be useful. For me that's cool because I'm using Final Cut for editing and ProRes is really easy to work with in Final Cut. It would be cool to see Blackmagic RAW also for those people that are using DaVinci Resolve, considering that it doesn't go well with the ProRes files, I mean ProRes RAW. The other feature that I wasn't able to test was the focus breathing. It is possible to use it, but not with all the lenses currently, so I'm waiting for the update to do the test of that. But I like that feature and I'm really happy that they decided to bring it to this camera. Now, I was really excited about the false color, but I don't like how it's implemented. So basically, if you want to use the false color, you have to be in C-Log 3, which is okay, but you have to turn off the view assist. The view assist is, or is it video assist? I'm not sure the correct name of the feature, but it allows you to have a log profile over your image that is not baked into the final file. It allows you to see better what you are filming and to understand what is happening with colors in the frame. Unfortunately, if you want to use the false colors, you cannot use that. The big problem is if you go to the false color menu, you cannot override the previous function. So you have to go to other menu, turn the view assist off, and then go back to this menu and turn on the false color, which is annoying. And there are some other occasions where that happens with different features in both video and photo, and I would like to for them to redo that part of the menu, because it would make the workflow much faster and easier. The autofocus is now more capable, but it's more complex. And that's a good thing, but you will just need more time to understand it and use it for its full potential. The other cool feature from the autofocus menu is the subject only. So basically now it has the same feature as the C70, where you just decide what you want to focus on. If it's a person, it will only look for the face of a person in the shot. So if I now leave the shot, it will stay on the same focus plane and it will not hunt behind me and stick to, I don't know, the window or something like that, which is useful for interviews and documentary work. And I think you can also use it, I didn't test that, with animals and objects, which is cool. One other feature that was really nice and I really like it is the anti-flicker controls. Now you can do it in both video and with the electronic shutter while doing photos. On the R6 and the R5 you are not able to do that in those modes. So you can do it automatically or manually. So now you can do it really precise, and you can change the shutter speed incrementally, so by 0.1. And that will allow you to remove the flicker really precisely. And that's perfect for video shooting. One of the cool features that it has is also pre-recording. So now you can choose from 3 or 5 seconds pre-record option, which is useful for interviews, for documentary work. Usually that feature is available only in cinema cameras, so it's really nice to see it on this hybrid camera. Now with the new version of Camera Connect, you can connect the R6 Mark II with the cable to the iPad or iPhone or any other smartphone or tablet, I guess, which is really cool, considering that if you ever try to do it through the Wi-Fi, it was more complex. I think the whole process is now much easier, but I really like the feature where you use the cable, because cables are more, I would say, reliable. And in some cases I will definitely use that. So you can then control the camera and see what you are filming on your iPad, for example, which is cool because it's really large screen. It's a bit laggy, but it's still useful. Now in video mode you have two quick menus. Basically the second one you get when you press the Q 2 times. It's similar to the one in the C70, but I do prefer more the one in the C70. I would be really happy if they just replicated that one. The one feature that I'm really happy about is the grid display of the aspect ratios when you are filming. This is so much needed for my type of work, where, as I said, I crop a lot in different aspect ratios, especially for video. When I'm filming some stuff, I need to do the same video that will work in 9:16 and 16:9. And now I know straight away how to frame it, and that's something that I really wanted to have in a camera, and I'm really happy that Canon provided. Now the IBIS, from my experience, is the same as the one in the R6 and the R5. It's supposed to be a bit better, but I didn't notice any difference. Probably it's incremental, and maybe with different lenses it works differently. It's still wobbly on the wide angle lenses, and it is really incredible on the really narrow lenses, like long lenses, like, I don't know, 70 to 200. So overall, I'm really impressed with the camera. I'm really glad that I got it. There are a few reasons why I got it. In my previous video, you can check that out. Unfortunately, I didn't test it as much as I was planning to, considering that I was really tired from the trip from New York and I had some other stuff. I think I have to use it first in professional environment to tell you all the things I think that are really good or really bad about it. But considering that I have a lot of experience of using all the Canon cameras, I'm pretty sure that I'm not gonna be disappointed. I will definitely do another review after 3 months of using it, when it goes through some jobs and stressful situations. Then I will probably have more to tell, and there will be probably some cool future firmware updates that maybe bring some new features. And I plan to do some comparisons videos compared to the R5. The R5 is really a good hybrid solution. It's more expensive, but it brings a lot of other things that are cool. But I would say if you are in the market for a new camera, for an upgrade from the RP, R, or maybe even R6 if you're a video shooter, this is a good solution. You cannot miss with that. You will be happy with this camera. If you're a photographer and you have the R6, then I would say don't change, because the 4 megapixels more are not worth the trouble, and image quality is close enough that it's not worth the change. spending all the money. But if you're a business owner like me or a professional, then probably it's not a bad idea to change it, the R6 to R6 Mark II. You will be able to write off of your taxes, considering most of businesses are able to do that. And also, if you were using it for 2 years, now it's maybe a good chance to sell the R6 for a good price, to replace it with a much better camera for a few hundred bucks more. So that's all for now. Hope to see you in the next one. If you like this video, please leave a like. Leave a comment down below if you like something, or if you didn't like. I would like to hear your opinions. And if you really like this content and you ended up all the way here at the end, please subscribe. Don't be a stranger, and see you in the next one. Bye!